She thought he was just another homeless veteran asking for help, but he owned the entire shopping center and hadn't trusted anyone in years. Maya Rodriguez was 3 months behind on rent, struggling to keep her coffee cart alive and feed her 6-year-old daughter when a quiet stranger appeared asking to use her bathroom. One simple act of kindness would reveal a secret that could save her from losing everything, or destroy the fragile trust she was just beginning to build. Because sometimes the most powerful love stories begin with the smallest gestures, and sometimes the person who looks like they have nothing is the one who can give you everything. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow, I've saved something extra special for you. Maya Rodriguez wiped down the sticky counter of her small coffee cart for the 3rd time that morning, her eyes darting to the envelope tucked beneath the register. Final notice. The words seemed to burn through the paper. 3 months behind on rent, and Mr. Peterson had made it clear this was her. Last week at Riverside Shopping Center, the morning rush had been slower than usual. Only a handful of customers, barely enough to cover her supply costs, let alone the mountain of bills waiting at home. 6-year-old Emma needed new school shoes. The car was making that grinding noise again, and the babysitter fee was due tomorrow. Excuse. Emmy, ma'am? Maya looked up to find a man standing at her cart, tall and lean with weathered hands and careful eyes. His clothes were clean but worn. Faded jeans, a simple gray hoodie, and boots that had seen better days. A small military-style backpack hung from his shoulder. "I hate to bother you," he said quietly, "but I was wondering if you might have a restroom I could use." "I can buy something if—" Maya studied his face. There was something gentle about him, tired but respectful. She'd seen enough people down on their luck to recognize the look, pride mixed with necessity. "The public restrooms are broken again," she said, gesturing toward the far end of the mall where yellow tape blocked the entrance. "Mall management's been fixing them for 2 weeks now," he nodded, understanding. "Thanks anyway. I'll figure something out." Something in his voice made her pause. Maya glanced around the mostly empty food court, then made a decision that would change everything. "Look," she said, lowering her voice, "there's a small employee bathroom in the back of my storage area. It's not much, but it's clean." His eyes widened slightly. "Are you sure? I don't want to cause you any trouble." "No trouble. Just be quick about it, okay? Mall security doesn't like people back there." "Thank you," he said simply. But there was something deeper in those 2 words, gratitude, that went beyond a simple favor. Maya led him around the cart to a narrow door marked Employees Only. The cramped storage space was filled with coffee supplies, a small sink, and a tiny bathroom barely big enough for 1 person. "Take your time," she said, then hesitated. "When you're done, if you want, I could use the company. Gets pretty quiet around here." He looked at her with something like surprise. "I'd like that." 20 minutes later, he was back, standing politely by her cart with his hands clasped behind him. "Feel better?" Maya asked, already reaching for a cup. "Much. What do I owe you?" "Coffee's on the house," she said, pouring him a fresh cup. "I'm Maya, by the way." "David," he replied, accepting the coffee like it was something precious. "David Chun." As he took his first sip, Maya noticed the way he held the cup, both hands wrapped around it, savoring the warmth. "You new to the area?" "Passing through," David said carefully. "Or maybe staying, still figuring that out." Maya nodded, understanding the uncertainty. She'd been figuring things out for the past 2 years, ever since Emma's father had decided being a dad was too much responsibility. "This is good coffee," David said, and meant it. "Family recipe," Maya smiled. "My grandmother's blend. She always said coffee should tell a story." "What story does this one tell?" Maya considered the question as she watched him drink. "Survival, I guess. Making something good out of whatever you have." David's eyes met hers over the rim of the cup. That's a story worth telling. They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, two strangers sharing something simple but real. Maya found herself studying his face, the way his eyes seemed to take in everything, the small scar above his left eyebrow, the careful way he moved, like someone who'd learned to be aware of his surroundings. "Maya," a sharp voice cut through. The moment, she turned to see Marcus, the mall security guard, striding toward them with his usual scowl. David immediately stepped back, creating distance. "Everything all right here?" Marcus asked, his hand resting on his radio. "Everything's fine, Marcus," Maya said evenly. "Just serving coffee." Marcus looked David up and down with obvious suspicion. "Mall policy says no loitering. You buying something or moving along?" "I bought coffee," David said quietly, holding up his cup. "That'll be all then," Marcus said, his tone making it clear it wasn't a suggestion. David nodded, then looked at Maya. "Thank you for the coffee and the kindness." As he walked away, Maya felt a strange pang of disappointment. There had been something about him, something that made her want to know more. But she turned back to her cart, back to the envelope hidden beneath the register, back to the reality of bills and deadlines and the 6-year-old who deserved better. What she didn't know was that David Chun had just marked her coffee cart on a mental map, and that her small act of kindness had set in motion events that would change both their lives forever. Because sometimes the most powerful connections begin with the simplest gestures: a cup of coffee, a moment of trust, and the willingness to see past appearances to the person underneath. The next morning, Maya was surprised to see David standing by her cart before she'd even finished setting up. He held 2 takeout containers and a small bouquet of grocery store flowers. "Thought you might not have had time for breakfast," he said simply, offering her one of the containers. Maya stared at him, caught off guard by the gesture. "You didn't have to. You shared your coffee. I'm sharing breakfast." His smile was gentle, but there was something else in his eyes, a kind of careful hope that made her chest tighten. She opened the container to find perfectly scrambled eggs, crisp bacon, and toast cut into triangles. "This is really good." "Where did you get it?" "Made it," David said, already working on his own breakfast. "Found a little kitchenette at the place I'm staying." Maya took a bite and nearly groaned with pleasure. It had been months since someone had cooked for her, since someone had thought to take care of her instead of the other way around. "You're staying nearby?" "Walking distance," he said vaguely, then changed the subject. "Tell me about your daughter." The question surprised her. Most people, especially men, seemed to treat Emma's existence like a warning sign. "Emma, she's 6. Smart as a whip and stubborn as her mother. What does she want to be when she grows up? Changes daily. Last week it was a veterinarian. This week she's decided to be a coffee scientist like Mommy." Maya laughed, but there was sadness behind it. "I just want her to have choices I never had." David nodded thoughtfully. "What choices would you make now if you could?" The question was so direct, so genuine, that Maya found herself answering honestly. "I'd finish college. Maybe become a teacher like I always planned. Give Emma stability, a real home instead of a cramped apartment where the heat doesn't work half the time." "What stopped you before?" Maya looked at him carefully. Most people asked that question with judgment hidden underneath. But David's eyes held only curiosity and something that looked like respect. "Life," she said finally. "My parents died in a car accident when I was 20. Emma came along when I was 22 and her father, well, let's just say he wasn't ready for the responsibility. I've been playing catch-up ever since." David's expression darkened slightly. "He doesn't help?" "He sends a check sometimes, when he remembers." Maya shrugged, trying to keep the bitterness out of her voice. "We manage." Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. You do more than manage, David said quietly. You're raising a daughter and running a business. That takes strength. Something in his tone made her look at him more closely. You sound like you know something. About it. A little. He was quiet for a moment, then asked, what happened with the rent situation? Maya's stomach dropped. She'd tried not to think about the final notice, but reality had a way of creeping back in, 3 months behind. The landlord's been patient. But patience has limits. I've got until Friday to come up with the money, or what? Or Emma and I are looking for a new place to live, and I'm looking for a new job. She forced a smile. But hey, at least I'll have plenty of time to figure out those life choices we were talking about. David frowned, and Maya caught something flash across his face. Anger, maybe, or determination. It was gone so quickly she almost missed it. How much do you owe? He asked. David, no. Maya shook her head firmly. I wasn't telling you that too. I mean, I barely know you. How much? The quiet intensity in his voice made her pause. $4,800. But I'm not your responsibility. I shouldn't have even mentioned it. David nodded slowly, like he was filing the information away. What time do you close today? 6. Why? Would you like help with the cart? I've got time, and you look like you could use an extra pair of hands. Maya studied his face. I can't pay you. I'm not asking for payment. Then why? David was quiet for a long moment, his eyes focused on something beyond the mall skylights. Because I've been where you are. Maybe not exactly, but close enough to remember what it feels like when the world seems like it's closing in. And I remember the people who helped when they didn't have to. Something in his voice, a weight, a history, made Maya realize there was much more to David Chun than she'd first thought. But instead of making her nervous, it made her curious. Okay, she said finally, but I warn you, I'm a demanding boss. David's smile was the first truly unguarded one she'd seen from him. I think I can handle it. For the rest of the morning, David worked beside her with an efficiency that surprised Maya. He seemed to anticipate what she needed before she asked, helped customers with a quiet politeness that made them linger and order more, and somehow made the mundane tasks of cleaning and restocking feel like shared purpose rather than drudgery. But it was the small things that caught her attention. The way he automatically wiped down surfaces without being asked. How he noticed when she favored her left foot, the result of standing on concrete for hours, and quietly switched positions so she could lean against the counter. The fact that he somehow managed to diffuse Marcus the security guard's suspicious attitude with nothing more than respectful nods and strategic invisibility. You're good at this, Maya said during a brief lull in customers. Good at what? Reading people, knowing what they need before they ask. David's expression grew careful again, picked it up over the years. What kind of work did you do? Before, I mean. Different things, he said, which wasn't really an answer. What about you? Before. Emma and the coffee cart? Maya recognized the deflection but decided not to push. I was studying elementary education at State. Had this whole plan mapped out. Graduate. Get a teaching job. Maybe find a nice guy who wouldn't run at the first sign of real responsibility. She laughed, but it came out a little bitter. Funny how life never asks permission before it changes everything. Maybe the plan just got delayed, not canceled, David said. That's very optimistic for someone who's passing through. David looked at her for a long moment, and Maya had the strangest feeling he was weighing something important in his mind. Maybe I'm finding reasons to stay. The words hung between them, loaded with possibility and promise. Maya felt her heart speed up, but before she could respond, her phone buzzed with a text. Emma's school. Emergency contact needed immediately. I have to go, Maya said, already untying her apron. Emma's school. Something's wrong. Go, David said immediately. I'll handle the cart. David, I can't ask you to. You're not asking. I'm offering. Go take care of your daughter. Maya looked at him, this man she'd known for less than 48 hours, who was offering to watch her business while she dealt with a crisis. It should have felt crazy, reckless even. Instead, it felt like the most natural thing in the world. Thank you, she said, grabbing her keys down as she hurried toward the parking garage. Maya couldn't shake the feeling that David Chun was either the best thing that had happened to her in years, or a complication she couldn't afford. What she didn't know was that while she was gone, David would make a phone call that would change everything. And that by the time she returned, forces would already be in motion that would either save her world or shatter it completely. Maya returned to find her coffee cart busier than it had been in weeks. A line of customers waited patiently while David moved with practiced efficiency, taking orders, making drinks, and handling payments with the ease of someone who'd done this before, many times before. Maya, Mrs. Henderson from the flower shop waved her over. Where did you find this wonderful young man? He's been telling everyone about your grandmother's special blend. I've never seen the cart so busy. Maya watched David hand a perfectly crafted latte to a customer, complete with a delicate leaf pattern in the foam. Her heart sank. She'd never taught him how to make latte art. She'd never even mentioned that the espresso machine could do that. Is Emma okay? David asked quietly when the line finally died down. Minor fever. I picked her up early, dropped her at my neighbor's. Maya couldn't take her eyes off the cash register. David, how much money did we make? He handed her the cash. Drawer, about $300. More than you usually make in a day, I'd guess. Maya stared at the bills. It was more than she'd made in a week recently. How did you? Where did you learn to make drinks like that? David's expression shuddered. Picked it up here and there. Here and there? Maya's voice rose slightly. David, you just made a perfect Rosetta latte. That takes months to learn. And how did you know about my grandmother's blend? I never told you the actual recipe, Maya. And the customers, Mrs. Henderson said, you were telling people about the special blend, like you were some kind of marketing expert. Who are you really? Before David answered, a commotion near the mall's main entrance caught their attention. A group of people in expensive suits were walking through the food court, flanked by security guards. Maya recognized the tall woman in the center immediately. Patricia Caldwell, the mall's general manager. Oh God, Maya whispered. That's the management team. They're probably doing inspections before they kick me out on Friday. But as the group approached, Maya noticed something strange. Marcus, the security guard who'd been so suspicious of David, was walking slightly behind the Marcus group and pointing in their direction. Not pointing at her cart, she realized with growing confusion, but pointing at David. Mr. Chun, Patricia Caldwell called out, her voice carrying across the food court. There you are. We've been looking for you. Maya's blood turned to ice. The entire group was walking directly toward David, and their body language wasn't confrontational. It was deferential, respectful, like they were approaching someone important. Mr. Chun? Maya whispered, turning to look at David. His face had gone pale, but there was resignation in his eyes. Maya, I can explain. Mr. Chun, Patricia continued. Now close enough for normal conversation. I have those quarterly reports you requested. And the architectural plans for the renovation project are ready for your review. Maya felt the world tilt sideways. Quarterly reports? Renovation project? David, what is she talking about? Patricia Caldwell looked between them with obvious confusion. I'm sorry, is there a problem? Mr. Chun, I assumed you'd informed Ms. Rodriguez about the new lease terms. New lease terms? Maya's voice cracked. David closed his eyes briefly, then opened them to meet her gaze. Maya, my name is David Chun, but my full name is David Chun Harrison. I own Riverside Shopping Center. I have for the past 3 years. The words hit Maya like a physical blow. She stepped back, gripping the edge of her cart for support. You. What? I bought the mall when it was going into foreclosure. The previous management company was running it into the ground, charging excessive rents and letting the infrastructure deteriorate. Maya stared at him, trying to process what she was hearing. You're the owner. You're my landlord. Yes, you've been sitting here, drinking my coffee, eating breakfast with me, listening to me worry about rent that I owe to you. Her voice was getting louder, attracting stares from other shoppers. Maya, please let me explain. Explain what? That you've been lying to me for 3 days? That you let me pour my heart out about losing my home and my business when you could have fixed it with a signature? David's face was anguished. It wasn't like that. I wasn't planning to. You watched me panic about $4,000. $4,000. That's probably what you spend on lunch. Maya was shaking now. Anger and humiliation warring in her chest. Patricia Caldwell cleared her throat uncomfortably. Perhaps we should discuss this privately. Mr. Chun, should we reschedule the meeting? No, David said firmly, not taking his eyes off Maya. Give us a moment, please. The management team retreated to a respectful distance, but Maya was acutely aware that they were still watching, that everyone in the food court was watching. You let me trust you, Maya whispered, her voice breaking. I told you about Emma, about her father, about my parents. I let you into my life, and you were lying about everything. I wasn't lying about who I am, David said desperately. I was lying about who I used to be. Maya, everything I told you. About wanting to start over, about finding peace. That was all true. But you lied about the most important thing. You lied about having the power to help me and choosing not to. I was going to help you. I am going to help you. That's why I asked about the rent, about how much you owed. Maya laughed bitterly. Oh, so this was all some kind of charity case? Poor little single mom. Let's see how grateful she gets before I reveal I'm actually her savior. No, Maya, that's not. I care about you. About Emma. This isn't about charity. Then what is it about, David? Or should I call you Mr. Harrison now? The name hung between them like a blade. David flinched as if she'd struck him. It's about the fact that I haven't felt like a real person in 3 years, he said quietly. It's about the fact that when I'm with you, I'm not the guy who owns half the commercial real estate in this city. I'm just David, the man who helps with your coffee cart and brings you breakfast and listens to you talk about your daughter's dreams. Maya wiped tears from her cheeks. But that man doesn't exist, does he? He was just another lie. He exists, David said firmly. He's standing right here, asking you to forgive him for not knowing how to be honest about the rest of it. Maya looked at him, really looked. She could see the pain in his eyes, the genuine regret. But she could also see Patricia Caldwell and the management team waiting nearby, could feel the stares of the other shoppers, could taste the humiliation of having her private struggles played out in front of an audience. I need you to leave, she said quietly. Maya, please. I need you to leave, and I need you to never come back to my cart. We're done, David's face crumpled. Don't do this. Don't let pride destroy something good. Good? Maya's voice rose again. You think lying to someone is good? You think manipulating someone's feelings is good? I wasn't manipulating anything. My feelings for you are real. Your feelings? Maya laughed harshly. You don't even know me. You know some desperate single mom who was grateful enough for your attention to let you play house for a few days. But you don't know Maya Rodriguez. Because Maya Rodriguez doesn't trust people who lie to her. She turned away from him, began furiously wiping down surfaces that were already clean. Please leave, now. David stood there for a long moment, and Maya could feel him willing her to look at him. But she kept her eyes on her work, her movements sharp and angry. Finally, she heard his footsteps walking away. When she finally looked up, David was halfway across the food court, walking beside Patricia Caldwell and the management team. Even from a distance, she could see the set of his shoulders, the way he held his head. He looked every inch the successful businessman he actually was. Maya sank onto the stool behind her cart and put her head in her hands. Around her, the food court slowly returned to normal, the drama over. But inside her chest, something felt fundamentally broken, because for 3 days, she'd believed in something beautiful. She'd believed that someone could see past her struggles to the person she really was. She'd believed that maybe, just maybe, she deserved something good, but it had all been built on a lie. And now she was exactly where she'd started, alone, behind on rent, and facing an uncertain future. Only now, she also had to live with the knowledge that the one person who could have helped her had chosen instead to watch her suffer, all while pretending to be someone he wasn't. The worst part wasn't the deception. The worst part was that despite everything, despite the lies and the humiliation and the betrayal, she still missed him already, and she hated herself for that most of all. 3 days passed in agonizing silence. Maya threw herself into work with desperate intensity, but the numbers didn't lie. Even with David's unexpected help, she was still $3,000 short of the Friday deadline. Emma had noticed her mother's mood. "Are we moving again, Mommy?" she'd asked, and Maya's heart shattered a little more. Friday morning arrived, gray and drizzling. Maya was setting up when she noticed unusual activity. Workers hanging banners for what looked like a celebration. "Grand reopening," Mrs. Henderson explained. "New management, lower rents, some community initiative." At noon, Patricia Caldwell approached with an envelope. Maya's hands shook, expecting eviction papers. Instead, she found a lease renewal with monthly rent of $1. "There must be some mistake," Maya stammered. "No mistake. The new Community Business Initiative provides subsidized rent for qualifying small businesses. Your coffee cart was specifically cited." Patricia's expression softened. "There's one condition. Mr. Chun would like to speak with you personally." Maya's throat tightened. Even after she'd thrown him out, David was still trying to take care of her. An hour later, Maya found herself outside the old bookstore space, now David's temporary office. Through the glass, she saw him in his worn jeans and gray hoodie, the same clothes from their first meeting. "Thank you for coming," he said as she entered. "I'm here about the lease." "What do you want from me?" "I want you to stay. I want Emma to have stability. I want your coffee to keep telling its story." "And what do you get?" David studied his hands. "I get to know I helped someone who deserves better than the world has given her. I can't take charity, not from you. It's not charity." He stood but kept his distance. "Maya, I've been rich for 15 years, but I've never felt like any of it mattered until I watched you build something beautiful with nothing but determination. You lied to me. Yes, and I need you to understand why." His voice was raw. 3 years ago, I came back from my second deployment and couldn't figure out how to be civilian again. I had money but no purpose. Every relationship felt like people saw dollar signs instead of me. Maya found herself listening despite her anger. "I bought this mall because it was failing. But it was just another project until I met you. For the first time in years, someone looked at me and saw just a person. You didn't want anything except basic human decency. So you decided to lie. I decided to be the person you saw. And I remembered who I used to be before money and war made me." "Forget." David's eyes were bright with tears. "Maya, I was falling in love with you, and I didn't know how to tell the truth without losing the only real thing I'd had in years. You fell in love with a struggling single mom who needed rescuing. I fell in love with a woman who builds community, one cup at a time, who raises a daughter to believe in possibilities, who offers kindness to strangers because it's right." His voice broke. "I fell in love with someone stronger than she realizes and kinder than the world deserves. Maya wiped her tears. I don't know how to trust you again. I know. The lease stands either way. This isn't conditional on anything except your willingness to keep making great coffee. Maya turned to leave, then stopped. Thank you. For seeing me. For seeing what I was trying to build. Thank you for letting me help build it with you. 6 months later, Maya arrived at her cart to find a small gift. Specialty coffee beans with a note. Thought you might try something new. She smiled, tucking it alongside dozens of similar notes. The past months had been a slow dance of rebuilding trust. David had kept his word about everything, and her business flourished. But more than that, he'd become part of the community, volunteering, helping elderly mall walkers, attending Emma's school performances without presuming a role he hadn't earned. Mommy, look! Emma ran toward the cart, backpack bouncing. I'm doing a project about community helpers, and Mrs. Martinez said I can interview you about being an entrepreneur. As Emma settled to do homework, Maya marveled at the change. Her daughter no longer worried about moving, talking confidently about her future instead. Good morning, Maya. David approached with nervous energy she hadn't seen in months. You seem jumpy today, she said, reaching for his usual order. I have something to ask you. He glanced at Emma, then back. Would you like to have dinner with me? A real dinner. At a restaurant. Like a date. The question was so earnest that Maya had to suppress a smile. Are you asking me out, David-chan? I am. These past 6 months have shown me everything I hoped. You're exactly who I thought you were, kind, strong, amazing. And I'm hoping you've seen that I'm who you thought I was too. Maya really looked at him. 6 months of patience, respect for her boundaries, genuine care for both her and Emma. Yes, she said simply. David's face lit up. Yes, I'd like dinner, a real date. She laughed at his stunned joy. Did you think I'd say no, Uncle David? Emma looked up from homework. Are you finally asking Mommy on a proper date? Maya stared. Uncle David? Emma shrugged with 6-year-old wisdom. That's what he is. He brings coffee beans, helps with math, comes to school things. He's like family, but not official yet. David's eyes were bright. Not official yet? Mommy says family is about choosing people. We chose you months ago. We were waiting for you to choose us back properly. David crouched to Emma's level. Emma Rodriguez, would you like to come to dinner as my official family? Will there be dessert? The best in the city? Then yes. But I picked the restaurant. Later, Patricia Caldwell brought more good news. The city council selected this mall as their development model. They want to feature your cart as successful small business. Integration, complete with expansion grants. Maya felt dizzy with possibility. A year ago, she'd faced eviction. Now they wanted her as a success story. You okay? David asked softly. It's just, I went from survival mode to this. Maya, you were a success story the day you chose kindness. And let a stranger use your bathroom. Everything else is the world catching up to what I saw from the beginning. Maya looked around the food court that had become community space. Families gathering, teenagers studying, elderly couples sharing. Conversation. A community built one cup at a time. I love you, she said suddenly. David's breath caught. Maya, I love you, not the mall owner or the mystery man. I love David, who brings coffee beans and helps with fractions and shows up consistently. I love you too. Your strength, your kindness, the way you make everything better just by being yourself. E.W. Gross, Emma called out. Are you going to kiss? I'm doing math. They burst into laughter. Rain check on the kissing, Maya whispered. Rain check accepted. 1 year later. The wall behind Maya's expanded coffee shop displayed photos of their journey, celebrations, Emma's school events, quiet family dinners, ordinary happiness. Maya's favorite was the simplest, her handwritten sign reading, coffee tells stories. What's yours? Because that's what their love story had been. Two people brave enough to share real stories, complicated and imperfect. Love built not on grand gestures, but on daily choices to see and support each other's truest selves. Every morning when David arrived with Emma's new book and Maya's terrible joke, she remembered that extraordinary love stories begin with ordinary moments of human kindness. Some might say it started when a poor single mom let a stranger use her bathroom. But Maya knew better. It started when two people decided the best way to love someone is to help them become their fullest self. And that story was still being written, one cup of coffee at a time. Up next, you've got two more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.